Hi, Christine.
Hi, Cheryl. How are you doing?
Good. It's coffee time. Can you do a
Good.
Boston accent?
Yeah, it's coffee time, darling. It's coffee time.
Coffee. That's more British.
Yeah. Well, drinking some coffee. Do you want some coffee? I got some real good coffee over here. I'm telling you, man, y'all are just missing out on this. We got
Y'all.
coffee.
That's your Georgia accent.
It's kind of a mix of it all, right?
I love
Mix of
it.
California accent, Southern, a little bit of British still trying to peep in.
Um,
Yes,
so it's our coffee
yes,
creativity with
yes,
Christine and Cheryl. So we are going to talk about um being older and
yes.
never being too old
No,
to do anything really,
yes.
especially when it comes to creativity. I feel a lot of people limit themselves because of their age.
They do.
Uh,
They think, oh, this, or I'm not going to go test that out or travel over here, or I'm not going to attempt to do this dance move because I'm going to fall over.
Right. Did you see the reel? You saw the reel I sent you of that older
She had,
lady, senior lady.
had her cane, and she's like, oh, but look at that young couple dancing. Oh, I want to do that, but my hip hurts. I have this cane. And then she's like, well, let me just go over and see what I can do. So she had the whole crowd full.
Yeah, and I think I saw her. I don't know if it was on America's Got Talent or something. I think she was on there as well. And yeah, she was like dancing all slow at first, and they were so bored. And then she like rips off her regular clothes, and there's this spicy dress
Like,
underneath. And yeah,
here we are.
and she was dancing so well and better than
Life goal.
you and I.
Yes, yes.
And
I thought it was so funny because like seeing them dance like that. Now Dolly danced back, and Dolly was one of my patients that I took care of, and
yes.
Carly's wife. But
And you
she
were a
could
caretaker, so that was your job before, yeah.
absolutely, and she could lift her leg all the way up, like raise her legs really high. She knew how to still at 90 years old, still bending completely over, could touch her toes, and I was just, your flexibility is amazing. And she didn't do the dancing part, but I would always, she'd say, look, I can still stretch my leg up this high. And
That's so cool. Yeah.
but to seeing those dancers, like, yeah, on America's Got Talent, I mean, it's just amazing. And then
Yeah.
the video you sent as well.
Or even
Yeah.
like I will see seniors go up there and they will sing or they will do comedy and they're just like, I only have so many years left. Might as well. Like, I don't have anything to lose. Why should I be afraid? And I think it's so great that they have that mindset because what do you have to lose? Like, what's the worst that'll happen?
Yes. When we're younger and even into our, 20s, 30s, 40s, I still think, well, and it obviously could happen into your 50s and 60s and 70s as well, but there's still, I think that little part of us as humans, you know, the fear of being judged, right?
Yes.
And allow that judgment to stop us sometimes from living the full life that we want to live because we're like, oh, what are others going to think? But at the end of the day, the judgment meant nothing to our lives. We let it stop ourselves.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah.
agree. I wanted to just bring up I looked up some senior artists that
Yes.
very, that they made incredible art. And one that I talked about was Grandma Moses in another podcast episode. And
Yes.
she started painting in her 70s. She had to leave her embroidery because of her arthritis. And so she started painting. And I guess in 1938, it says her art career saw a spike when an art collector bought her artwork. And she just had this amazing art career in her 70s, which is just so pool, and there's Beatrice Wood and Claude Monet. He started, I didn't know this, and I'm a big Monet fan. He started his career in his late 70s. I thought he
And
was
wow,
younger than that.
yes, I thought it was like 40s or 50s for him. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So, and then it says, and I didn't know this either, after his cataract operation, when he was in his 80s, his painting shifted to deep colors. Because he observed, it says he observed the colors so accurately.
Yes.
And Georgia O'Keeffe, I know your mom is a fan of hers. She's
She,
mentioned that.
yes.
And she was her vibrant, it says her vibrant paintings and designs are the main reasons why people love her. Despite losing eyesight, she didn't lose hope. She kept creating the artwork with the help of her assistants. I didn't know that either, that
No.
she, yeah, was losing her eyesight. Um, and Agnes Martin. I have not heard of her, but in her final days, she painted a small plant drawing with a height of 3 inches. Her paintings also give a glimpse of what the lady was from within. So, it's really cool to see all these artists. And, we don't hear about many women artists either, because I
Mm-mm.
feel like back in the day, it was men who were put in the spotlight, and like many men don't like, or people have not seen what women have contributed because it's the emphasis is mostly on men. So it's nice to see these
Right.
stories of these older women who, made a difference.
Yes. Yes. I mean, and my mom, again, like I had shared with, on another podcast with you. I mean, she really didn't start getting into her art until more towards her late 40s, early 50s. And then even that, she started taking art classes and really enjoying it. And, like I shared too, since her stroke, that's been her biggest joy is
Yeah.
art and all the different things to try. I mean, and so she'll be kind of, like many artists, we may be more focused on abstracts for a while, or oil painting for a while, or sketching for a while. And so for her, definitely, she's got all these patterns, and she loves to go shopping just to find different odd shaped, objects to be able to either paint over onto the canvas or to look at and you have references to what she is going to paint and different textures, like if she wants to just put like a strap or something that has like curves on it across the painting and then let the paint fall a certain way. And the creativity definitely brings her so much joy, and she can, be like many artists kind of locked in the moment, and the rest of the world is in its own form, and she's just in her own world and enjoying that, and it brings her so much. Yes.
And she was doing something, was she doing quilting or she was doing something else, right? And she
Yeah,
could not do that anymore.
she sewed since she was very young, and she was making quilts, and she made all the kids blankets, which was really, really sweet and so special. And she also made pillows, really, really cute pillows that she gave for gifts, and, just kind of tied like a theme or pictures on them, on fabric. And it was really special. But since the stroke, too, the same thing, like how you mentioned with some of these other artists, when things happened, this other form of art for them still was able to flourish and grow. And yes, so for
Yeah.
her, if the paintings, are given away as gifts, or she'll just have them still. And we were talking the other day how we want to be able to put them up and make her wall of art as well in her house. Kind of like, in your art room, what you do. I love it. Yes.
Yeah, you
So,
should, because it brings a different energy to the space. And I think it's something to be proud of, and
yeah,
to hang it up instead of just hiding it in the closet, or, they want to be shown, and bring you bring them to life when they're out instead of hiding somewhere. Yeah.
yes. Yes. And, the other day I found one of the paintings you made, Emily obviously just graduated this past weekend. And
Yes,
I
so exciting.
the storage room, one of the things that we had were some of my paintings that we're going to put up, but we were doing painting on our walls, like painting our walls. And so we haven't hung up any pictures and artwork And so I had them set, and one of those was a painting that you had made like shortly after she was born. I'm like, oh,
Really?
yes.
Oh, I don't remember.
It was, yes, I'll send you a picture later. Yeah, but yes,
Oh.
I'm pulling this out as Emily's going to be graduating. So
Wow.
special.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Yeah, it goes by so fast. Um, yeah. And I feel like mm, there's so much hope because um yeah, sometimes, as some of us get older, we lose certain abilities. But to be able to shift and to see like, okay, well, I can't do that anymore, but I can do this or I can try this. That's where the miracles happen. And then you open new doors to new things. And I met up with an artist this weekend who were Instagram friends. And I actually did an interview on her, and she's done a lot of art of uh, for women life freedom in Iran and portraits of the young kids, unfortunately, who have been killed. And she retired recently. Her husband said, "Okay, it's time for us to retire, and we've got to do all these other things." And she was teaching art, and she had like 90 students.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were divided up each day, and sometimes
Yeah.
she would have, like, 3 classes a day, and when her kids were younger, it was such a great, career to have because she was at home, she was teaching from home just like I was, and, she was so sad, she was telling me she was so sad that she had to end that, but because she ended that, she was able to start doing portrait art, which she never thought she was good at. And she's
Oh,
amazing. She's phenomenal. I don't know if you've seen her, um,
or
work
is-
that I
yeah.
posted. Yeah.
I
And
probably didn't know who, yeah, the name behind it. Yes.
yeah, so, her name is Sherry Chakamian. And, you know, to see her evolution when she was talking about her evolution of, ho well, how she started as an artist, and then where she is now. It's amazing, and it's so cool to see that even though it's not gonna be one way or a certain way all the time,
Whole
and
time.
yeah, and that could be it could be sad because 'cause you're losing some things, but then you can also gain so many other things that are new and
Yeah.
exciting and different, and it's just being open-minded.
Yes. Very open-minded. And I think too, because I was a caregiver for so long, I mean, I still will always be a caregiver, but having the different patients and then having even my parents and my grandparents, right? I think what also kind of intertwined with that is sometimes we think, oh, our life is going to be like our parents, and not always, or like, the elderly who are in our lineage or something. And so being with my other patients and then also going to the senior centers and painting with them and dancing with them and singing with them and talking with them again, like I could see my high school class in these faces, like, oh my gosh. And to be able to age and to grow old is such a gift. And the choices and the vision and the lack of the fear of being judged really, I mean, just all the people that I got to meet and talk to, you had all of these different journeys and paths, right? So you had some people that then maybe didn't always take care of themselves mentally or physically, and they were more stuck to their home, but they still had their favorite things like painting or singing at home. Then you had others who were still doing yoga and ballroom dancing, which of course then grabbed my heart. And then you also then had this whole other group that was still teaching other seniors, right? And wanting to test out new things, going to get tattoos together. It just, the sky was the limit. And so just because maybe our parents do one thing or people close to us do one thing, that doesn't mean our path is going to need to look like that. And it just showed you this variety of possibilities that you get to have with your life. Now, we can't, there's no 100% guarantee with anything, but we can still aim for that direction, take steps in that direction. And I definitely, I see like both sides just of all, having that open mind to it. I just was amazed to see, like, especially those in their 80s doing yoga and
I
dancing.
know. I love seeing that. I love seeing videos on that. It's so
I'm
cool.
like, wow,
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
inspiring, and I think it's cool that I see it, like, on video, and I know I have friends who, are in their 70s or, like, my mom, my in-law, um, and so I see it with them, and I see the difference with they're the ones who, might be they're sick, or they have a chronic illness, and
right.
um, they are limited, or their mind limits them on what they could do. And then there are the ones I see who also have an illness of some kind, but um, their mind is able to go get through it. And, they try all these different modalities, and they're still creating. And that's one thing, like Joan Marie, for example.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's an artist who, she's one of my friends. She's in her 70s. We both know her, and she went through an illness, and to see her spirit through it, and her perseverance, and she just kept creating, and she just kept going and dancing, and just it was so inspiring to see that. And it really changed my perspective on aging, that, like you said, it doesn't have to be that a certain way, or the way we saw it growing up. Because I saw my grandmother, and I was like in her 50s. She looked like she was in her 70s. When I saw pictures, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's only 50 here, you know?
I know.
And
As
it's different.
a coach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? And they went through a lot. Like, my grandmother went through a lot in her youth, and she there's a lot of suffering that went on. They had hard lives, but also do I saw her mindset on certain things. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good. So, you think, well, you're just going to grow old and be in the corner of a room and just not do much, maybe except cook. And it doesn't have to be that way. There's just you could go do yoga, you could still travel, you could still do art in different forms. Um, there's just the possibilities are endless.
Yes, they really are. And even in, like, with my patients who are more wheelchair bound, or even some, bed bound for a while, especially, coming into the end of their lives, some really were more bedridden more of the time than being able to be up, right? And just having, music on, that, the art of music really connected me with them as well. I mean, so there's certain songs with almost all my patients. If I hear certain songs, it'll bring up memories with each of those patients with me, and I'm so grateful for the all art, of course, but especially with the art of music. And if they were in a wheelchair, I mean, even in the bed, I mean, my patient Joan, she would have to be in the bed most of the time, but we would listen to the Sleepless in Seattle CD. And there's all different slow music and more upbeat music, and just being able to dance in bed and be able to lift her legs, and,
Mm.
you know, um, and be able to look at pictures and things that she had created as well, because she was a creative. And it was really, really special. And then Boomba and Nisi, they were artists, like, all, I mean, very, very talented artists. And dementia will bring on some depression. And so Nisi, by the time I got to be in her life, she didn't really want to get out of bed. But it was amazing to look at their artwork, and like driftwood. Growing up in California, we don't have, in Southern California, have driftwood. Well,
Yeah.
they grew up in Florida, and I still have yet to go to the part of the beaches in Florida that they, grew up with. I really just, now when I see driftwood, I can't help but think of all the art that they created with driftwood and birds' nests. Like, Nisi loved birds' nests, and she loved birds. Like, to see, like, we had cut down a tree and we didn't know there was a nest in it. And so when the tree went down, it stayed connected to the tree, and there were little baby birds already in it. So we put
Oh,
that part of the house. And to be able, but I couldn't help but think of Nisi with this because she loved Bird's Nest. And, it's been over a decade since, she passed away. And so I don't even want to start crying, but like they are artists and the beauty of their art and, their children all in one way, shape, or form are artists and their grandchildren are artists as well. And it's just so beautiful, whether it comes out in interior design or setting up for parties or, like the touch of your art and the way you pull colors together and all of that, my patients. But yeah, Nisi and Boompa, they love circles. Like their house was like an octagon shape and they had this huge circle bathtub. Their bed was a circle.
No
I
way.
mean, they love bamboo. So they had bamboo countertops and bamboo flooring and bamboo chairs. And so now I have like bamboo. It's been growing up on the side of our yard. Of course, I see that too. And I think of them, so it's just amazing what art will do. That stepping outside of the box, knowing that there's just an abundance of scenarios that you can have. And you're never too stunted if you choose to expand where you can go with what you have and your abilities and your health and where you're at. There's still so much color and life to bring to yourself if
Yeah,
your mind, be open to it. Yes.
I agree. And are there any like words of wisdom that your patients left you with, before they departed, before they transitioned that you
Well, I
can
mean,
share?
yeah, I mean, the biggest one was Charlie, just because Charlie was my last patient that actually has passed away. And it was, been 2 years now. And he, the he was not a very religious person, and I would say not even a very spiritual person. And I, towards the end of his life, he was not, didn't have any illness. The only thing that was happening is he did need me to be with him to sometimes hear his hearing was going and sometimes his memory. Like he was so sharp, had his own business, like forgetting how to do certain baking things and, online banking and stuff like that. So I would help him with that. And when the last week he started to get this cough, and he just thought it was because he had too much phlegm, but his body was shutting down. And we didn't know that. He kept telling me, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And so he didn't want to eat or drink. But what he started saying, again, after all these years of not being very spiritual or religious, he just kept saying he would be, resting a lot in his bed. And he's like, I feel this force and I feel like God is a force. And he's like, even though I'm not religious or spiritual, like I'm feeling like God's love, it's a force. And he's like, I really am understanding it now. And he's like, I really want people to know that God is truly love. And, why did I do some of these mean things I did in my life? Like, why did I let my pride get in the way? Look at all this love that he always knew how blessed he was and how fortunate he was with the choices that he also added to help create that life for himself. But just the creation that God had given us and all the different people that God brought into his life, he then started to reflect on like some of his behavior with them. And he just kept mentioning again and again that God is a force, God is light, God is love, and there's nothing scary, and just reassuring him. And it brought him to this very peaceful place to let his soul pass, and to be calm about it and to just embrace it, right? And he had, of course, I was there when his wife passed away as well, and so he got to see how beautiful and emotional and sad that was, but that it was not anything scary, and that she just the force of love, and like that was kind of being brought back to surface as his soul was getting close to passing out of his.
Uh,
So
oh,
just that force. Mhm.
um, it reminds me of, well, when my dad transitioned, when he passed away, I would watch a lot of near-death experience videos, and I'd listen to Anita Morjani, who also if our listeners aren't aware of her, she has a book, Dying to Be Me, which I highly recommend. It's
Hi.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, and her videos are really good. Um, And so after he passed to give me some like serenity and peace, I would watch these near death videos. And what you're saying reminds me of everything there was this theme in there
Yes,
everyone had of there's like this force and it's all about love and people also talking about how they think about how they affected others by some of the not so nice things they may have done, and that it's all about love and about connection. So
yeah,
it's it's amazing hearing that because it's just validation and it's not just from a video because some people are like, well, those videos are, they're making it up. It's fake, but you had that one-on-one experience with one of your patients, who you've known for years.
yes, 8 years,
So
yes,
and I don't know, it's very special. It's very special to hear this because, um, you think that that's it. You're dead. You died, and there's nothing else, and might seem scary. Um, so I love hearing these stories, and it brings you peace because, like, I know my dad is, he's at rest, he's at peace, and his soul is all around. Like I feel him, I feel him at times, and I'm sure you feel like you've talked about how you feel your patients around, and it's
and your dad is too. I mean, and sometimes like your dad has come to me in a dream, because we've known each other for so long, and I got to visit last as well. It was like, whoa, your dad's right here with us. Yes, I'm feeling that. Yes,
so
100%. Yes. And so I also had a patient named Barbara, and I only got to be with her for, she already had stage 4 cancer, and she was only 80 years old. And I know 80 in some people's minds is old. She did not even, to me, 110 is probably old now. I mean, 100 maybe is old, but
yeah.
um, there's still so many 80-year-olds that really do seem like they're 50 or 55, shutting down and very weak, but her soul was still so young. And she was honest. She's like, I was not a great chooser in romance. She's like, but I feel like she had like 5 husbands. And she would tell me, she's, if it doesn't work out in your relationship, don't let society stop you from going out and finding another dancing partner and going out and painting another colorful life for yourself, because that was just one life with one husband. You can then still create something even more beautiful with the next husband. So
I love that.
she cracked, yeah, it
Yeah.
cracked me up. Um, she was really fun, very, very sweet. But she lived a vivacious life, and she was an only child. And it was heartbreaking because her daughter got in a car accident in her 30s, and so like that, with that devastation of a parent, but she knew she was alive here on purpose, and for a reason, right? And she definitely painted a wonderful, colorful life for herself. And to share those last days with her and to have her be able to recap those stories, it was just really, really special. And to sit outside on a swing with her, because she was much kept at home with the way her illness was progressing. But it was so special, and just that advice of like, hey, don't let the society stop you. She did not let it stop her from meeting another husband.
Yeah.
And another Barbara I met she was at a senior independent living home. And so she lived on her own, and she had me paint yellow butterflies all across her room, and big ones, small ones. So I did this whole, and which she didn't know how important yellow butterflies were to me, because
Wow.
for me also with my patients, grandparents, yellow butterflies is one of the signs I also get from my loved ones. And so that was really special. But she had let me know that she had wanted to get a tattoo on her butt, but then she started thinking, I'm not going to be able to get, so why am I going to go through this? I've been constantly want to get tattooed on my butt, but I can't see my butt. So maybe for another space on my body that I could see and what I want to be able to look at every day. She loved butterflies.
Yeah.
Um, that cracked me up that she thought about getting a butterfly on her butt. And she was well into almost 90.
Wow.
And she learned how to roller skate in her 70s, and still was roller skating into her 80s. I'm like, so many of us would be so scared to get on roller skates, even in our
Yeah.
40s. Like, it's been so long. And I used to love to roller skate, and I
Me
actually did
too.
this year, but I mean, I was about to eat it, and
Yeah.
totally fall, did fall a little bit, but it was like a brace fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to think of her on roller skates, in your 80s and 70s, like, so it really is what you put your mind to, and and hey, if you want big yellow butterflies painted on your wall and you're, approaching 90, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
I love it.
yes,
I love
yes,
it.
yes.
So, uh, thank you for today's coffee creativity talk.
We're never too old, and we are still young, very young.
Yes, we are. Yes, my birthday is coming up, and I'm like feeling like just thinking about, okay, it's
It's
okay.
affecting us Geminis and Aquarians,
Yeah,
and Libra. We have this connection, especially Aquarians and Geminis. We have this connection that woohoo,
yeah, yeah. So
forever young. Yes,
forever young. I'm turning 47, and it's okay. I telling the world it's so
on the last couple of years, you're leveling up. We're just leveling up to level 47.
yeah,
but
exactly. So
the things we ate at 47, and I've already been here for a few months since, my birthday's in February. So
yeah.
for great.
It's great. Yeah. Well, I've loved my 40s, so I've enjoyed it. So I think this was a great podcast to
Yes,
talk about the aging process because we are so afraid of getting older, and I feel like there's so many things to discover and um
it
yeah, to live. So cheers to that and to our
is.
next podcast, Coffee Creativity Podcast.